Interesting that Mr. Alistair is. I wonder if he even knows the town of Great Booth as I for sure do. I remember when I first met him there. Nice fellow, just like now. But something didn't seem right. And I remember so many in that town who went missing and were never found again. But the police seem to have found their killer in that town. Someone named Frederick, as I believed was his name. There were a number of photos of the missing victims in his possession, and he seemed to have had a past history of such things, but of only his time in the war. He was a veteran in the war. He basically became the town drunk, but it seems he had some form of a calling as I remembered him well. He was a great friend. We talked so much to one another, told me how things were in his life, and I did as well. He was a kind man until his wife, while he was in the war, she cheated on him for another man. So when he came back to discover this news, his life became a spiral. He couldn't hold up work and drank till dusk to dawn. But I always was there to try and ease his pain, which helped. We were friends since we were kids, and when he told me about a big project he had been doing, it must have been this. And I know my friend, even when his life was being in hell, he would never be violent to just random strangers as he drank, but the reports put his alcoholism and his past against him, and entitled him as a serial killer. And adding those photos with it, they just locked everything in. Without hesitation, I downed it, every last one of the police members and anyone else associated to the case, as I know the truth. It was Mr. Alistair. He was always near the locations of all the missing people, and simply had a smiling grin through each one, making sure others didn't see. He always knew to cover his tracks, and seemed my friend Frederick was only investigating the missing people to Mr. Alistair, but was silenced by him, using the service weapon he had. And at the time I was working at town, I was simply a low-grade detective. And hearing this case and the higher-ups telling me he committed the crimes he did, and ended everything with a bottle in one hand and his pistol in the other, I doubt greatly. He was a man of hope, never giving to despair. So I looked up everything from the case and realized there being smiling-faced drawings carved in a location a good distance away from the reported last scenes, that I had to thoroughly look from trees, bottom of rocks, to even small animals left in holes. So I went to give what I had discovered to the higher-ups, but ignored my request to reopen the case, as they didn't want to be called out for making a mistake. So I went on my own to get concrete evidence, but seems he must have destroyed all evidence of any wrongdoings. So I continued to watch him over, and until he decided to move away without anyone knowing. So I had to find him once more, and discovering he was going to run a circus. So I came to work as the jester they needed. And after many a time, I found a smiling mask in his office similar to the carvings. So I had found evidence leading him to the scene of the crimes. Now it's just a matter of time. I'll be able to convict him for the crime he did and avenge my friend. Charles, may I come in? Of course. Just wait a second. What is it?
You can finally stop your snooping around now. What are you? Just a friend of Alistair. It seems he will no longer be needing both your services. You and Alistair will pay for your gravest sins. I think not, dear detective. I'll be taking these. Sleep well forever.